Hi guys, welcome back to A Window to the North. My name is Sara, and here on A Window to the North I share my passion for travel. I would like to inspire you to take the step to travel the world if that is something that you would like to do, to experience new countries, new cultures, and I'm here to provide you with useful tips and tricks when it comes to that, expat life, traveling and digital nomad lifestyle. A few weeks ago I started a little bit of a series about traveling with kids. It started with a video that I made about how having lived abroad and traveled a lot as a child has actually, I felt, changed my life, shaped my life and my identity and my perception of the world. And from there I thought that maybe I could give you a few useful tips and tricks when it comes to traveling with your kids yourself, because I feel that for many people this is a rather scary or daunting task. Now, I've been traveling a lot with my first son, who is now 5 years old. My second son, who is 2, has not had that privilege due to the pandemic, but we will remedy this situation as soon as possible next in 2 weeks, when we will be actually going to Germany for the first time. And I have done the majority of the travel with my first son solo, so just him and me, which is why I feel that I have an extra view also on how to make life easier if you do not have another grown-up with you. So in today's video, let me give you my tips for packing when it comes to traveling with kids. My first suggestion, particularly if it is only you traveling with the kids, so if you are a solo traveler with kids, is to not overpack, because you're going to be the only one that has to carry everything, plus potentially carry your child as well. This means, on the one hand, do not overpack or pack all the diapers that you need, all the baby food that you need, and all these things. Pack just as much to arrive at your destination and maybe survive the first day until you got your bearings, and then buy the rest there, so that you don't have to, it doesn't take as much space and you don't have to carry around as much. The same goes for clothing. Now, my son's first trip was when he was 4 weeks old to Finland, and I think I packed 2 sets of clothing for every day, because, you know, should there be spit up, should the diaper leak or whatever, which, we kind of might have needed all sets of clothing too. But by now, actually, my tip for a lot easier way of traveling is to just pack a couple of sets and then consider washing them at your destination, either by using a hand washing soap. I will link one down below if I can find one, or just by finding a washing service. I have previously mentioned that I think traveling with kids, the easiest way to go is either a youth hostel or through vacation rentals. I will link them down below as well, because you can cook your own food. But another benefit is also that usually at these places you have the possibility to wash clothes and therefore do not have to take as much. Another mistake that I feel I did a lot in the beginning is to take too many toys, because you feel that you are in a new place, there are no toys there, and you need to keep the kids occupied. Honestly, I believe you do not need a lot of toys. These days we travel mostly with one book and one cuddly animal, so something that gives comfort. The reason why I think this is because during the day you're going to be out exploring anyways. You don't need toys because your kids are going to be busy taking in all the new experiences, and in the evening they will probably just want to sleep and they're exhausted from the day. So really, lugging around tons of little toy cars and whatever else is just going to be extra baggage that you are going to have to carry. Plus, they might want souvenirs from wherever you're going. If you intend to buy some for them, then that's extra toys, and as parents probably know, as soon as there's a new toy in the house, the old one isn't important anymore anyways. A really big tip that I can give you is to take something that gives a little bit of feeling of home and security when it comes to sleeping. Particularly young children oftentimes have issues falling asleep in new places, because sleep is a very vulnerable state for children, for everyone technically, but for children maybe even more. They are in a new situation, in a new surrounding, they don't know the place, things smell funny, things don't feel like home. Take a blanket or a pillow, or maybe even sheets that smell like home, that you can put over wherever they are going to be sleeping, so that they, at least have a subconscious feeling of being at home and of security in their sleep, and it'll help them with falling asleep and with sleeping maybe a bit more restful. Here, another tip that I have mentioned before is also to not change locations super frequently when you are traveling with kids. Give them time to adjust adjust to their new location instead of maybe switching hotels or whatever every 2 days because you're hopping from one destination to another. This is something that will definitely help with your kids' sleep if you plan to do long-term travel, if you keep in mind to give them time to adjust to the new destination before moving on. Now, this might be a personal preference, but particularly when I am traveling with my son, I always prefer to take a backpack, and I used to prefer to take a carrier. He is now so old that he does not need a carrier anymore, but the reason is that it gives me the possibility of hands-free. I would also always take a card with me, but particularly at the airport, I've said this before, I find the security of placing particularly a toddler that is mobile at the security check into a baby carrier a lot more relaxed than trying to chase your toddler or get upset about them not staying where you want them to be in busy areas. And a backpack, as well, so you have your hands free, you can pick up your kid, you can hold them by the hand or whatever. I find particularly if you are one grown-up traveling with one or more children is really essential. Now, I already mentioned the cart. Why do I need a cart when I do use the carrier? Because even if you are carrying your child in the carrier, the cart can still function perfectly as a means to push your backpack around. Another one that you should consider is car seats. If you decide that you would not only like to rely on public transport, depending on where you travel, I would highly recommend that you take your own car seat. Now, in many places in Europe, for example, car seats are mandatory for children, but even there, for example, when we've been traveling to Berlin, you first of all have to pre-book a cab, for example, to get you from the airport to where you're wanting to go. If you need a car seat, then you can't just hail one from the street because they don't have them with them. And oftentimes it has happened to me that the cab driver would just throw the car seat in the car but would not know how to actually fixate it. And then there you stand and you're trying to figure out how to appropriately fixate a car seat that is not yours and that you don't know anything about, that is probably, decades old already and does not have the stickers on anymore that would help you in guiding this. So I've had a lot of trouble with that, which is why we oftentimes use our own car seat. I have a travel car seat, a Kanga, that I can warmly recommend. That you have, it comes in a little carrying bag. It is super light. It can go into the hand luggage of the plane, and is, for example, something that I also use when traveling to places where you technically do not need car seats by law, because there you will have even more trouble finding a cab driver that can supply you with a car seat. We had this problem when traveling to New York, but just because the law doesn't require kids to have car seats, in my opinion, doesn't mean that they cannot die in a car crash because they are not having a car seat. So I strongly recommend to buy your own travel car seat that you can use when traveling to keep your kids safe. Another thing that I, for example, do not take, have never taken, and have never used is a baby cot. In many places and hotels you could probably rent one if you wanted it, if you needed it, or a baby bed, these traveling baby beds. But for me, honestly, I co-sleep with my children generally, but also particularly when traveling. Because for children, like I said, it is more difficult to fall asleep when they are in an unknown surrounding. And me sleeping with them gives them a certain amount of security of knowing that, their primary caregiver, somebody that takes care of them, is there with them. If that is not an option for you, I would recommend that you either check with your accommodation if they have these available, so you don't have to take them with you yourself. Or many bigger cities these days also offer rental companies that rent out particularly kids gear, so strollers, beds, high chairs and stuff like that. You could also check if that is an option, so you don't have to lug a lot of cumbersome stuff around while traveling. I've said this in the previous video about traveling with kids, and I will say it over and over when it comes to traveling with kids: snacks. Take snacks. On the one hand, because it'll help you through little hunger dips and hunger tantrums that you might encounter. It'll help you if you are in a destination and your child might be a picky eater, or might be insecure. It might be food they don't know. Everything tastes and smells funny and different from back home, so that you at least have something with you that they will eat. And it'll help you de-escalate potential waiting situations where they have to be still, where they have to sit still and stuff like that. Not that I'm saying you should constantly feed your kids snacks to keep them quiet and still, but particularly if you are traveling by yourself, I feel everything that makes everybody's life easier and keeps everybody in a good mood is a relatively fair game. Since we are talking about snacks, the next one on the list would be water bottles and metal boxes. We use for water bottles Clean Canteen and SIG. I will link down below what I can find, but the thing is, again, snacks boxes, metal boxes for snacks, of course, so you can, for example, also offer cut fruit. Not everyone, depending on where you go, you are probably used to being able to buy, for example, pre-cut fruit and snacks in the supermarket, but not everywhere where you travel this is common. So taking metal boxes and being able to prepare cut fruit and stuff for your kids and then taking them in metal boxes while you're out for the day is a good option. If you do not stay at a vacation rental or somewhere where you have the possibility to cook, I would suggest that you also take, for example, a pocket knife, not in your hand luggage, so that you can prepare these things. Why do I suggest metal boxes and metal bottles? Well, of course, on the one hand, the idea of a plastic-free living and being kind to the environment plays a role, but on the other hand, also, I have had water bottles, actually my own water bottles, not even my kids, break when they have fallen in a bad way. For example, I've had one fall off a spinning bike and just hit the bike just wrong on the corner, and then you have you're out of water. But also, particularly if you're traveling to a hotter destination, I feel that the water often takes a bit of a plasticky taste if it is in a plastic water bottle for too long, and if you are sensitive like me or like one of my children, then you might be in a situation where your children refuse to drink that water. Another one that should give you some peace of mind if you are traveling with small children is to take something to cover power outlets, because these small kids securing measures are oftentimes not available in accommodations. And personally, particularly if I'm alone, I'd want to be sure that I can go to the bathroom or into the shower without my kid shoving something into the electrical outlet. This, of course, only makes sense if you're traveling somewhere where they have the same kind of power outlet, so they fit. On the other hand, if that is not an option, you could maybe just cut out some cardboard and take a roll of tape and tape them over. If you feel that you need a baby monitor, that is something that you could consider taking with you. Personally, I have never needed one because the accommodations that I've been staying in were so small that I would hear anyways if my kids were waking up. But if you feel that that is something you need, that might be an option for you as well. Generally, for, like I said, don't overpack, but for, to make your trip easier, or you're getting to the destination easier, I would also recommend to take wet wipes, something to clean kids off, and maybe an extra change of clothes for you for the journey. For example, if you are in the airplane and your child throws up, of course you would have an extra change of clothes for them, but also for you, so that you don't sit there covered in their spit up or something to cover yourself with, so that you also feel nice and fresh and are prepared. Another great tip that I have for you that I will actually be trying for the first time now on our next trip when we are going to be traveling a little longer is take I don't even know the English word. In German it's called Bollerwagen. I'll insert a picture, which is a hand cart, I suppose. Instead of a cart. Now this makes most sense when you have more than one kid, like I have right now. My older one technically does not need a stroller anymore. However, if we are going to spend the whole day walking, even he will be tired, and this hand cart that we are using folds perfectly and allows me to it carries 70 kilos, so it allows me to either put both kids in there, or both kids and my backpack, or just one kid and luggage, and however you want to do it. So it basically has more capacity than a stroller, folds equally small, is relatively light, and makes my life a lot easier. So this is something that we have been using on day trips, but now we're going to use it while traveling as well. Last but not least, this is not essential, but it's kind of an extra that I like to do, since you get an extra luggage allowance for your children, but they most likely won't have their own suitcases. At least I always pack everything we need in my backpack because I am the only one carrying it and I only have so many hands to control children and lug around luggage, is to pack a little extra bag in my backpack that is empty. This is the bag that I will stuff everything in that we buy extra and that won't fit on the way back. Should there be anything like, souvenir toys that the kids want, maybe I want something usually to take with me as well, or maybe the packing just didn't fit the same way on the way back than it did when we went there. So I put an extra bag. I like this North Face backpack / duffel because I can carry it on my back in front if I have a backpack on my back already, and can then check it in at the airport at no extra cost because, again, my children have baggage allowance but don't have baggage themselves. So this is my short and concise packing list for, relatively short and concise I suppose, packing list for traveling with kids, and my tips. I hope they helped you and gave you value and made you excited for traveling yourself. Please give me a thumbs up if they did, and leave me a comment where you are going to travel with your kids, or where you would like to travel with your kids, and I hope to see you here next time. Bye bye.